Our top focus story on the broadcast is the National Investigation Agency's charge sheet into the Bhima Koregaon case. And let's specifically talk about some of the accused in this case. So there are 8 accused. Let's talk about Gautam Navlakha, because according to the NIA, there is an ISI link that has emerged, that has come to fore in these investigations. What is it that the NIA is saying? It's charge sheeted 8 people in this case so far. Gautam Navlakha also stands accused of recruiting cadre for the Maoists. NIA says that there was a plan to get a network to supply arms to Maoists. As far as one of the other accused, Father Stanley Swami, a Jesuit priest from Jharkhand, is concerned, he stands accused of arranging funds for the Maoists. Remember the Bhima Koregaon violence that took place? This case was initially investigated by the Pune police, and that had spoken about Gautam Navlakha's alleged link with Hizbul Mujahideen terrorists in Kashmir Valley and trying to link them up with Maoists in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand and elsewhere in the country. Now the National Investigation Agency has taken this to the next level. National Investigation Agency is speaking about a link to Pakistan's ISI. 10,000 pages of charge sheet are now in public domain. Of course, it's now a matter for courts to decide and for the NIA to produce evidence in a court of law. Because it's also being said, the flip side is that this is an effort to silence intellectuals in our country and create a climate, an atmosphere of fear, so that intellectuals don't speak up against the government. But I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu, breaking this big story for us here on India Today. Kamal, can you give us details of this ISI link to activist Gautam Navlakha?
Well, Gaurav, if you can hear me, Gautam Navlakha was one of those who was traveling regularly to United States. We believe he was also part of conference. You will remember the case of Ghulam Nabi Fai, who was identified by the FBI as Pakistani agent. He was in close connect with that, and this is where the NIA is investigating. Remember, Gautam Navlakha is not new to controversy, whether it's his Kashmir link, whether it is something to do with Chhattisgarh. He's been in the eye of the storm. The agencies had an eye on him, but this is the first time that the NIA has got the evidence, and they're looking into the ISI link, whether he was getting money, that he was providing information. That is the charge which has been put. But remember, it's a 10,000-page charge sheet. Gautam Navlakha is one of the prominent activists. He's also a former journalist. So in that particular sense, extremely important details really tumbling out. But again, his connection with both the Elgar Parishad and then thereafter the Bhima Koregaon violence is something which is in the eye of scanner. The charge sheet was filed in Mumbai court today.
Stay with me. Let me also bring in Mr. Vikram Singh, former Director General of the Uttar Pradesh Police. Let me also bring in activist Saira Shah Halim. And Saira, these investigations of the NIA are extremely damning. Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu breaking that big story on India Today. Gautam Navlakha's alleged link to Pakistan's ISI. His association with a paid ISI agent called Ghulam Nabi Fai. There's an FBI investigation. This is not just an investigation by the NIA in India. There's an FBI investigation that is also being relied on. Saira.
See, I will tell you one thing. How come a very pertinent name is missing from the charge sheet? I mean, how did this person get acquitted? You please let us know about his political links and the patronage he was he enjoyed. There was a gentleman by the name of Sambhaji Bhide, and very, very unsurprisingly, the government has not put him, or the police has not put him in the whole charge sheet. So tell me, all these supposed people.
So does that increase or decrease the crime of Gautam, alleged crime of Gautam Navlakha? Or can you? This is almost like that Amitabh Bachchan film. Jao pehle uska sign kara ke lao. Jao pehle uska sign kara ke lao.
No. I'm explaining what a charge sheet means, okay? This 10,000 page charge sheet. Let me also remind you that our present Home Minister was also accused in the Sohrabuddin murder case, and he was acquitted much later. So there was a long charge sheet against him as well.
Yes, so due process of law was followed.
So,
Yes.
so due process of law hopefully would be followed in this case also, because right now what it looks like is like a witch hunt against prominent activists, academicians, people who stand with the downtrodden and the disenfranchised of the country. It's a proper witch hunt, and I feel the UAPA is a draconian law. It has to go. You can't be framing charges against dissenters, against people who have a prominent voice, who are criticizing the policies of the present regime.
So how much of
and
being
frame
associated with
these
Pakistan's
these
ISI
charges.
is dissenting? But let me take this
So
question
these
to Mr.
charges
Vikram
have
Singh.
to be proved.
Mr. Vikram Singh,
See, it's very convenient
Mr.
to
Vikram
put
Singh,
in Pakistan and ISI when you want to really demonize someone without the proper, the proper proof. So let them also prove their innocence or the lack of it or whatever. Let the courts decide. We are no one to actually sit on judgment.
I will get Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu to respond on facts, but let me get Mr. Vikram Singh. Sir, the allegation is that it's almost building into a crescendo now that intellectuals of India are being targeted.
I think, Mr. Sawant, the nation has suffered enough of these armchair activists and the so-called intellectuals. Let the intellectuals do important path-breaking research and get patenting done. That is what intellectual pursuits are all about. Hobnobbing with the undesirable creatures like Ghulam Nabi Fai, who are on the radar of the FBI, indulging in anti-national activities. And then you have a whole lobby of people, lawyers and others, and the so-called armchair activists and intellectuals who would go run the extra mile to defend them in the court of law and etc. The fact remains, and the fact of the matter is, NIA has produced a very convincing charge sheet, and till they are charge sheeted and not acquitted, this gentleman, Mr. Naulakha, Gautam Naulakha and others have a lot of explaining to do. I, in my own career, handle the likes of them, and the vigorous pursuit of the law enforcement agencies, get them convicted, put them behind bars, and see to it that they are behind bars as long as they have active years in them.
Fair enough.
Let them not come out and vitiate the peaceful atmosphere of the country. And I'm sure a nation would like to see the likes of Gautam Naulakha behind bars, because the aura and the glamour behind them created by the so-called intellectuals. I don't need to call them intellectuals. I think they are fifth columnists, and they need to be handled by the NIA and the law enforcement agency within the ambit of law.
That's a strong statement. That's a strong statement. You're saying they're fifth columnists and not intellectuals. But let me take this to Kamaljeet once again. Kamal, you cover the Interior Ministry. You cover the Ministry of Home Affairs. You've tracked this case over the years. What is the Ghulam Nabi Fai link with Gautam Naulakha? Is this conjecture, or is there evidence to prove either a money trail or their association, or a statement that is allegedly made by an attorney in the United States of America about Ghulam Nabi Fai getting Gautam Naulakha to meet some ISI generals in the United States of America?
Well, the charge sheet press release itself talks about only one line saying ISI link is emerging. So that has been left really. But clearly, Gautam Naulakha, when he was flying to United States, he made several trips. That was already under scanner. And obviously, we've been told by our sources, ISI agents are always looking at those people who are kind of pliable, who will get them information. Those are charges which have to be substantiated. The other fact is that there is a conspiracy that they were all present in Elgar Parishad. There is a Pune charge sheet in 2018 and 19, both to do with the Elgar Parishad as well as the violence which followed up in Bhima Koregaon. This is on the 1st January 2018 to have the caste divisions there, and obviously some amount of violence. But clearly, this is one of the pictures which needs to emerge more clearly as to what his US link was and whether there was any ISI agent, whether money was received, because this has to be substantiated not just publicly, but also in the court of law.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. No witch hunt. It needs to be substantiated in a court of law. A person is innocent till proven guilty. Saira, if I may, a person who stands accused not just by the NIA, but also initially by the Pune police when they were investigating this case, Gautam Naulakha allegedly traveled to Kashmir, is alleged to have met terrorists of the Hizbul Mujahideen and sought to bring those terrorists with Maoists in mainland India and wanted them to operate together. Is that sinister if true?
See, these charges have to be collaborated with evidence, because I will not go by hearsay. If he's been hobnobbing with terrorists, then obviously the law of the country will ensure that justice is meted out. However, if these are false allegations, and I think he has every right as a citizen of India to prove his innocence. That's all I'll do, because I don't believe in engaging in jingoism. I feel he has a right to prove his innocence or the lack of it.
You're absolutely right. Jingoism is wrong, but creating a crescendo about government going after intellectuals, is that equally wrong? Is that also an attempt to vitiate the environment and to put pressure on due process of law, Mr. Vikram Singh?
Obviously, jingoism, of course, something not very desirable, but creating the holy cow syndrome in respect and vis-a-vis the so-called intellectuals is also not a very healthy trend to do. If any person, there's something known as suspicious activity reporting system. If the FBI sees them on their radar, it is suspicious activity. If he's traveling to Kashmir, hobnobbing with terrorists, it is suspicious activity. He seems to be indulging and providing weapons to the Maoists and illegal outfits. It is a suspicious activity. And I'm sure the police and the NIA would be able to nail. As of now, I see in a scale of 1:10 that 9 out of 10, he seems to be eyeball deep in trouble and evidence is overwhelmingly against him. If he gets out of this messy situation, well, it's his luck. Otherwise, I don't see anything rosy in respect of his future as of now.
Fair enough. We will leave it at there. We need to see what is the evidence that the NIA is able to produce in a court of law to be able to substantiate these extremely grave charges. And I completely agree with you, Saira. While jingoism is wrong, it's equally wrong to create that atmosphere that government is going after intellectuals without due process of law being followed in this case. Saira Shah Halim and Vikram Singh, as always, very thanks for joining me. Kamal, keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more. For the moment, I want to shift focus to the other big story we're tracking here on India First. And this is the story of pride. This is the story of the Defence Research and Development Organization test firing the Rudram anti-radiation missile. And this proves to be a real game changer. I know we've been saying that quite often here on India First, but a lot of things that have been happening, they're truly game changers on ground zero. This is a missile that will take down enemy radars and communication centers, even if they're switched off. How? Take a look at this report.
India today test-fired the Rudra, the first anti-radiation missile from a Sukhoi 30 MKI at Balasore integrated test range of India's east coast. The suppression of enemy air defense SEAD missile is also known as an enemy radar and surveillance center killer. Developed by the Defence Research and Development Organization, Rudram is a new generation anti-radiation missile weighing 140 kilograms, and the current version is designed to destroy enemy radars at ranges between 150 to 200 kilometers.
Our position as a credible combat-ready force is vital, given the role Air Force will play towards ensuring victory in any future conflict. Combined with upgraded op capabilities of our current fighter fleets that is underway, it gives us the ability to shoot first and strike deep and hard, even in contested airspace.
The current version of the Rudram radar killer is fired off the Sukhoi 30 MKI to create gaps in enemies' air defenses and enable other aircraft to penetrate deeper and strike vital assets and points. Soon the Rudram will also be fired off Mirage 2000 and Tejas light combat aircraft. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh congratulated the DRDO scientists for the successful test launch of the missile and called it a remarkable achievement.
It is going to be a very effective step against the enemy air defense radars, communication stations and the RF emitting sites. It is also laced with the INS GPS navigation, and it has got passive homing device for the final attack.
All the difficult stealth technologies of fifth generation aircraft is to reduce the effective range of the radars. And if these radars are taken away, then it will be a very free run for our fighting forces.
The supersonic missile, capable of flying almost twice the speed of sound, is equipped with a passive homing head that tracks the enemy radars and once locked will hit the target even if the radars or communication equipment is shut down.
Rudram is tasked to suppress enemies' air defenses and create a gap for fighter jets to go in and destroy the enemy's vital assets and vital points. But India is sending out a very important signal. First, the test firing of a hypersonic technology demonstration vehicle, then test firing of Rudram, deployment of BrahMos, Nirbhay, the talk of Shaurya missiles being deployed. All of this is aimed to tell the adversary not to carry out any misadventure at the line of actual control. With cameraman Kripal Singh in Delhi, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. This truly is India's Astra Shakti, our missile power. And this is being deployed. It's not just technology demonstrators, but missiles that are being deployed. Look at BrahMos, for example, supersonic cruise missile. Now, a BrahMos, which is fired off a Su-30 MKI, can take on an enemy target more than 450 kilometers away. There's another version that's coming up with 800 versions. But let's for a moment talk about the Nirbhay missile. This actually shows India's attitude. Nirbhay, fearless.
What is this object? Cruising swiftly, but with just so much speed that it can be filmed this way by a fighter jet. What you are looking at in the middle of its flight is India's Nirbhay cruise missile. Filmed from a Jaguar jet. This weapon will join the Indian Air Force in a matter of months. First tested 7 years ago, the Nirbhay is a formidable long-range weapon that adds a huge capability to India's missile arsenal. The Nirbhay is a subsonic cruise missile, which means it flies at just under the speed of sound, but has a formidable range of up to 1,000 kilometers. The missile is capable of delivering a nuclear warhead, is currently being tested for a road mobile truck platform, with a ship-launched and air-launched version planned in the future. India today has learned that a final test of the Nirbhay is scheduled for some time in the next few weeks, after which the weapon will be cleared for induction into the Indian Air Force. But in a hugely significant move, the Indian military has deployed a small number of Nirbhay systems in the northern sectors amidst the Ladakh standoff to give the missile a pre-induction workup and get crews prepared for its use. Capable of low-level terrain, hugging flight to avoid radar, Nirbhay cruise missiles can hit targets deep inside Chinese territory. And since they are nuclear capable, they will be part of India's strategic deterrent. Still powered by a Russian turbofan engine, the Nirbhay is expected to become fully Indian going forward, with the development of an Indian cruise missile engine in advanced stages of development. While the Nirbhay, in its current avatar, is a land-launched surface-to-surface missile. It is being developed. as a possible air-launched version for launch from the Air Force's Su-30 MKI heavy jets, as well as a ship-launched cruise missile like the BrahMos you see being fired here from an Indian Navy warship. The age of the Nirbhay is right ahead. Bureau Report, India Today.
From Nirbhay missile to Nirbhay air warriors, I want to leave you with this image of two skydivers jumping off the C-130J Hercules at one of the highest passes in the world at Khardungla at almost 18,000 feet. I leave you with these images. Enjoy.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.